Hi, I'm Lynette and welcome to my channel. Eyeshadow palette bundles. Do we like them? Do we want them? Let's talk about it. Today in another episode in the Can We Talk series, I'm talking about eyeshadow palette bundles. And what got me thinking about this were the two eyeshadow palette bundle collections that were released this summer. And they were both from indie brands. One from one I've never heard of and one that we've all heard of. Ace Beauty or Ace Beauté is one of the brands that released their Paradise collection. And then there was Morphe and their collaboration with Jaclyn Hill, the Vault collection. Now, the similarities between the two collections, well, both were beautifully packaged. The Vault, very, very pretty packaging. And the Paradise collection was themed around a floral type theme. Packaging on it was beautiful as well. Now, both eyeshadow palette collections consisted of 4 eyeshadow palettes. All of the eyeshadow palettes in both of the collections have a mixture of matte and shimmer metallic shades. The Ace Beauty Paradise collection consisted of 4 12-pan eyeshadow palettes, and each one had their own color story or color theme. There is the Paradise Fallen eyeshadow palette, which is the cool toned purple palette, and then there's the Slice of Paradise eyeshadow palette, which is the bright colorful palette, the Classical Paradise eyeshadow palette, which I consider to be sort of the grunge palette. It put me in the mind of the ABH subculture palette with yellows and greens and dark plums and oranges, and so that's what I consider the grunge palette. And then you have the Blossom Passion palette, which is a mixture of cool and warm toned neutrals. You could buy the bundle, the whole collection, for $115, or you could buy each palette individually for $35. Now, on the other side was Morphe and the Vault palette, their collaboration with Jaclyn Hill, and that collection also consists of 4 eyeshadow palettes. You have the Armed and Gorgeous palette, which is what I call the grunge palette because it has the greens and the yellows and the oranges. Again, it put me in mind of the ABH subculture palette. And then you have the Ring the Alarm palette, which is a mixture of warm and cool tone neutrals, and then the Bling Boss palette, which is the cool toned purple palette, and the Dark Magic palette, which is a combination of different toned greens. And you could buy the Vault collection for $49, or you can buy the palettes individually for $15 a piece. So similar collections in that each consisted of 4 eyeshadow palettes. Each one had its own theme, own color theme and color story. And you can buy the palettes as a bundle, or you could break them apart and buy them individually. Now, when I saw that these collections were being released, I was super excited. I'm gonna be honest. Well, you know, I'm an eyeshadow palette addict. I love an eyeshadow palette. So when I saw these brands releasing 4 palettes as a collection, I was like, wow. And I actually like the theme, the different color stories in each one, the purples, the neutrals, the grunge, the warm palettes. I mean, I really like that concept. And I also like the concept of being able to buy the whole collection, or just to buy them individually, the ones that maybe appeal to me the most. And I think that appeals to both people that are veterans in doing eyeshadow and those that are just starting out perhaps in doing their eyeshadow. And in this way, if you're starting out, here you can get 4 palettes, all differently themed, to build your collection. And then if you're an old-time vet like moi, you have the option of just picking the ones that speak to you. If you have a larger collection and you don't want to buy all four, because let's face it, once you get to a point where you have so many eyeshadow palettes that you're going to have a lot of similar colors. So having the choice and the option of being able to buy just those that are of interest was really exciting for me as well. I liked all of the palettes in both of the collections, but in both collections, Jaclyn Hill and the Morphe and the Ace Beauty collections, there were some palettes I was more interested in and those that I wasn't as interested in. And the difference between the two on whether I would buy all four or if I would just buy them individually was the price. And this is where there was a couple of categories where these collections differed. And the first one was price. The Ace Beauty collection is $115 and for all four palettes, and that's kind of a hefty price, especially for a brand that up until now up until this launch I had never heard of. So to spend that kind of money on palettes and not being familiar with their formula, the eyeshadow formula, gave me pause. And then to buy them individually at $35 a pop, again, is pretty pricey. So the Ace Beauty collection really gave me pause because of the price and it being an indie brand, and I'm not familiar with their return policy, but normally with indie brands, pretty much when you get it, you got it, it's yours. Unless it comes damaged or broken, you pretty much have to hold on to it. You have to keep it, I think. And so the price of those palettes really gave me pause. Now, on the other side is the Morphe Vault palette collection, and that one really got me excited as well. And not much about Morphe excites me. But this was one release that I was really excited about. I liked all of the color stories in all of those palettes, and I really liked the price. I thought Morphe really hit it out of the park with how they priced these palettes. All 10 pan eyeshadow palettes, and $15 each, or $50, $49 for all four. And I feel like at that price point, you are going to appeal to the vets who might not have wanted all four of the palettes, because there were similar shades amongst the palettes, many of which I'm sure I have in my collection, but the price being so good, it's just like, why not just get all four of them as opposed to maybe paying $30 for the two palettes I was most interested in. So that price point on the Morphe eyeshadow palette collection I thought was pretty gosh darn genius. Now, another aspect where these two collections differed was apparently the quality. The Ace Beauty palettes, I haven't seen too many videos on those palettes, but the one or two that I've seen, the people seem to like them and seem to like the quality of the palettes, as opposed to the Morphe collection, Jaclyn Hill Vault collection, where that was a whole big mess. That was a disaster. They launched the palettes. They gave them out as PR early on to influencers, and these YouTubers quickly discovered that there were problems with that formula. It was patchy. There were a lot of complaints. They actually launched it in Las Vegas, I believe, and sold the palettes, and then because of all the bad reviews it was getting, they decided to stop the launch and delay the launch and refund everyone in Vegas that bought the palette if they wanted to return it. And they were supposed to go back and repress them or reformulate them, I don't know which, but like 3 weeks later they came back out saying it's all good again, and it wasn't. I've seen mixed reviews. I've seen people that love their palettes and love the eyeshadows, but I've seen a lot more of them and tutorials where they looked patchy and hard to blend. So in that respect, two very different collections. But I really like the concept of eyeshadow palette bundles. Being an eyeshadow addict myself, the more the better, right? Well, maybe not. Especially now at this time, it seems like every week brands are coming out and releasing new products, new palettes, new eyeshadows, new everything. And it's gotten to the point where a lot of people feel fatigued with all of these launches. And so I'm wondering, what do you think? Do you think releasing 4 palettes at once is a little bit too much? Is it overkill? Is it overload? Do you want to see more brands releasing eyeshadow palette bundles? Is it too much? As someone who's building your collection, do you think it's a good idea? Is it something you'd be interested in? I'd like to know what you think. Let's talk about it in the comments below. What do you think about eyeshadow palette bundles? Is it a trend that you would like to see happen? I really thought after those releases, those 2 launches, that I kind of thought that maybe other brands, mainstream brands, even indie brands, might get on the bandwagon and say, I think we'll do that too. That's a good idea. But I have to say, I haven't seen it yet. Not to say that we won't be seeing it in the future, but I haven't seen it yet. So I'm wondering if it's a trend we will be seeing at some point, and is it a trend that you'd be interested in seeing, that you'd like to see? Please let me know in the comments below. Let's talk about it. Do we want to see more eyeshadow palette bundles, or was this summer enough, especially with the catastrophe that was the Morphe Vault collection? Do we not want to see them ever again? If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing, because I do these types of videos along with other beauty related content here on my channel every Saturday. I'd like to thank you for joining me today. I hope to see you again next week. Until then, bye-bye.